we got a full set today, boys.
Yes,
How about
we
it?
do.
First one.
But even better, we have the brand new, released again.
Oh, smell the
Oh, you smell it?
Bush
effervescence.
apple.
Cheers over there, boys.
Cheers, buddy.
Nice.
Jefe, cheers.
This is a big sip. This is the first one of the year.
Oh, wow. Ooh, the back of the jowls.
I do like.
Wow.
I mean,
I've never had a bush apple before.
What?
This is the first one I've ever had.
what?
It's basically
Get
another one.
we
Get another one
related?
on camera.
Are we related? It's my,
I don't know
it's
how I
my
missed
go-to.
this.
Like, I try to actually physically stock up.
Wow, that is
Comes,
so
comes and
good.
goes, you know?
That is so good.
It's dangerous.
So good.
Whoa, you can slam a couple of those.
You know what else is dangerous? Is that mustache on that guy sitting to your left. Let's get into
What kind of
let's get
mustache?
into El Jefe
Tom
over
Selleck,
here.
you mean? Tommy.
I love it.
Well, there's times I can't have a beard.
Yeah.
And
why?
so-
Tell everybody why.
Well, because the company policies are you can't have a beard when you're flying passengers.
A beer or a
A
beard?
beard.
Oh, okay.
Or a
beer.
beer. You can't really
A
have
beer
a beer.
either.
Either one is illegal while
Yeah,
flying.
so I go with the either I'm a cop or I'm a pilot look, and usually either one works out.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
I
love
figure
it.
why not? So
I'm short today. You guys notice that?
Yeah,
did notice.
you
You know
cut
why?
her down.
You know why? Yesterday I went with full intention of having just a mustache today.
Get
you
out.
backed out.
I did.
Shaking
I
shit.
fucking pulled shoot. I'm like, we started going real slow, and it hit this point, and I'm like, holy shit! I haven't seen my chin in 20 years. Stop!
Don't do
I've
it.
never
Shocking.
seen.
I'm
I've
like,
never
stop.
seen you without a beard.
I know. I'm
Ever.
like, stop! I can't. I like. We're gonna have to baby step this thing. So I'm tight
Yeah.
right now. I mean, this is tight for me.
When JB shaved
like-
his beard off and sent me a picture of it, I'm like, what happened to your chin?
That's the
Where'd it go?
the
now it
hardest
looks
part.
normal, right?
Now it does.
To me,
Because I'm
it
used
doesn't.
to
I
it.
still look in the mirror and I'm like, holy shit.
But when you
remember
used to have your big black beard,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the big, like thick drop beard on you, then it was like, and then you went, whoop, and then you just lost your chin.
Oh my God! I shaved it the first time. I just went right down, not
Yeah.
to the skin, but close. And my stomach dropped.
Yeah.
I'm like,
did
I have
I
no
just do?
goddamn chin anymore. I look like a fool. Like, what have I done? So, but the key is you got to trim your stash up higher, because if you let the stash go like this, and you got to trim the stash up.
See,
Once
I've-
the stash is trimmed up,
I was just gonna go right down to nothing. Bare skin, just
Just
I was gonna
mustache.
Go Jefe, just
Really?
I don't know what I'd have done. to be
pilot in the
honest with
making.
you. I
That's
think
what
I'd
it
have
is.
passed out.
I don't know what I'd have done either.
If I'd have walked in here with it,
I don't know if you'd have to pick me up off the floor.
Yeah,
I would have lost it.
I would have.
I would have lost
it's
it.
gonna happen. That's a big step. It
is.
That's
man.
a big ass step.
Well, for those of you that are listening and watching, we're talking about beards, but we do have to introduce a little bit more. We have our partner in crime, Jeff Schuster. So I want to make sure we're talking about Jefe. If you're listening, we have got Jeff Schuster on set, which is a good friend of ours and also a guy that we hunt with down in Ohio. So welcome to
affectionately known as Burlap.
Burlap Jeff.
Burlap Jeff.
We could get
Burlap.
Captain
Jeff.
Jefe, lots of nicknames for Jeff, but Jeff always brings the fun, no matter what, to camp, and the masks.
And full disclaimer, this is my very first podcast experience, so you guys have taken my podcast virginity. Thank you.
There we go.
So this will-
Jesus.
I'll drink up. It's gonna
There
get,
we
it's gonna
go.
get interesting.
Keep drinking.
Yeah.
Long-time listener. First-time caller.
We'll be gentle.
Exactly. So
There you go.
Long time listener, first time caller. Yeah, that's it. It's basically like sitting around camp. That's
Oh no, I'm not worried.
That's all
This
we're-
is
that's all we're
We've actually been on this podcast a lot. We just haven't had mics. This is what it is.
Yeah.
It's us sitting here talking about
yeah.
all the things. And even more so, the two of you are still in camo. I at least changed. You guys are still in camo.
We came
now.
right from the field.
Right from the field.
Yeah.
Well, which is it's just fitting.
Yeah, I mean, I said, why not?
Yeah. It's
I
fitting.
didn't have a
I got to be
change.
honest with you. The instinct looks good against that couch. You got a good setup there at the instinct.
Pretty good setup.
I unfortunately wasn't able to join this morning. I had daddy duty.
Yeah,
I
that
had
happens.
Had to drop the boys off, but I got to hear what.
Oh my God.
I got to hear is like first morning blues out there or what?
It was
I dropped
everything.
the boys off, that's for sure. About 7:15.
That was about halfway through the hunt.
I'm walking next to Jason and we're talking and he literally just looks at me and goes, all right, sounds good. I'll talk to you in a minute, huh? And he just bails behind a tree and I go, Jason has his morning. You got to take a
Well,
shit.
and then of course they go 15 yards up and they continue to just look back at me.
We turned around and just said, what are you doing back there? And he's just behind. You can just see it. And he's in camo, so you just see his head pop around like this every now
I
and
mean,
then.
it's like a dog that looks uncomfortable in the yard. It's just the same exact
Pretty
same
much
thing.
same position.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know Jay likes to go when we hit the field. Do you remember the one in the Yukon in the pass?
Yeah.
We got up there and he's
yeah.
like, I'm not feeling good. You remember this?
Oh, yeah, high altitude sickness.
He's
Yeah,
like,
altitude sickness.
We're at
not
4,000
feeling-
feet.
Not feeling good. So he's
4,800.
Like, he's like,
Base
he goes,
camp.
man, I gotta take a shit.
Yeah.
We're like, all right. And so we like, go take a shit. Now we're in the mountains in a pass. You walked, I think.
Not a tree.
You walked
Not
like
a tree.
200 yards. We could still see you 200
Yeah,
yards.
I should have just taken a shit right next to you. I mean, where it was
No
flat
idea why
ground.
you walk so far. We're like, what's? I mean, we can still see you.
It was like he kept
But
walking.
at least it
and-
was smaller.
yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah,
He kept walking away, and we're like, I mean, is he going to hide behind what?
There's
We're in the
nothing
tundra. Not a rock, not
I
a
thought
tree.
there would be like a little depression in the landscape. No.
No, there wasn't.
Nothing.
There was not.
So I think I faced you. I just faced you and looked at you like a bulldog. I'm not gonna have you look at my crack.
All right, so I pull in this morning, get out of the vehicle. Obviously, it's early. It's like 5:30 on the nose. I get there. And the very first thing Jason said, he goes, "Hey, bud, you got toilet paper in your truck?" I mean, this
Forgot it.
this
So it was
is
already,
Yeah.
which means he was already looking for it. He was
Yeah.
panicked he didn't have it, and
Yeah, I was
then
nervous.
Fillmore comes out and hands him a couple of bounties. Says, "Here you go, bud."
Big. double absorbent.
He says, "Here," because he knows already.
Nice pattern
He
on it.
knows. Yeah. he's patterned like a whitetail,
Yeah.
basically at the same time every morning.
Well, Schuster cooked his famous pasta last night, and she stuck to my ribs a little bit.
There you go.
That's it. I'll get blamed for that one
What
too.
else went down? Sounded like it was
It was
a couple of bumbling idiots.
it was the classic 989 gobbler morning.
Yeah.
This was something that I got to experience for the first time, and I've gone turkey hunting with Jason before.
Yeah.
But to hear about you guys talk about this 989 gobblers and stuff like that, wait, let's go. I'm looking forward to this.
So we load up in a Ranger, and we all pack in, and I was standing in the back of the truck, and I said, "I have decoys," and you were like, "Should we bring a Jake? Should we bring, what are we going to bring with us?" So I have a Jake, I have the hens. What do you guys need? Fillmore's like, we're going to take Petie.
We're trying to decide what
Yeah.
type of birds we had. If they're jakes.
Yeah.
Do you bring a gobbler if Jake's getting beating him up all the time? He had no idea what he had. He just
Yeah.
knows they're roosting
there's
over there,
birds over there.
where they usually do. So I'll just bring Petie.
Yeah, so he says, I'll just do that. And I say, okay, well, we get out, and I'm like, I'm just along for the ride, right? I got the Meta glasses on. I'm like laughing at, filming with those. I got a GoPro, and I said, I'll carry the decoys, Fillmore. He goes, you didn't bring a decoys? He goes, I didn't bring a decoys. I said, so we have no decoys. He's like,
Yeah.
we have Petie. So I had Petie. So I get Petie.
Sometimes that's all you need.
That's all we need. Sometimes we're like, all right, we're in the timber. Maybe that's all we're going to. So we're just going to go with just Petie, right? Full strut tom. And he puts the fan in the deal, hands it to me. And the fan at the back of those things, you know how they get weak on the backside.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's a weak Petie. And we get all the way to where we're going to go. And I set the bird down like this, and the fan just falls off the back of it like this. It's broken. It just falls off. So get a stick, put it up there, get it all kind of rigged up, right? And we have a pretty decent, they were gobbling pretty good off but we were hunting by a river, like on that ditch. We were in the Hamburger Hill. So there's a ditch back there, and the bird, the chances of the birds landing, coming up the edge, jumping the river,
Flying
coming
the
to where
20
we were. It
20
was a
feet
tough
to
setup
cross the
this
river.
morning, but they were gobbling.
We couldn't get closer.
We sit down, and I'm next to Chris. I go, what are the odds? He's like, none. I didn't even get the rest of the sentence out. He's like, none. Exactly.
I literally looked at it, I go, 0%. 0% chance this actually works.
So much. They
So
had to
many,
come through.
so many barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of things to get through, but it was a fun morning. And then we got around and got on one that we were going to actually Petie. But the problem is when I handed it to Fillmore the second time, it snapped completely off. So he was like holding the thing together like this to try. I'm like, how are we going to Petie when the Petie doesn't have a fan?
Yeah.
So we ran into a lot of problems with that. And eventually we just pulled chute, watched the Tom walk off, and went back to the vehicle and had some breakfast beers and off to the races. But I left because I had to bail and come into the office for something. You guys kept rolling, and based on the fact that you're still in camo, you had a successful afternoon.
Yeah, no, it was good. We got on a property, and we couldn't even get out of the vehicle. Like we pulled in and they were in there. We had to let the birds go back into the corn. We got out, put a stalk on them, and Malecki shot. We call him beard rot. It had beard rot.
Yeah.
So it was all the way up, and so great shot. TSS pounded.
Yeah, just
long
hammered
beard
it.
TSS.
How far was the shot? Like, is it tight or is it up
25 yards probably.
Oh, okay.
Just dumped him.
Yep.
So we
Tell
go up
people
there
what
and-
beard rot is for people.
So
that may not
beard
know.
rot, Schuster and I were talking about this. There's a couple different things that could happen. Beard rot or the mites get in there and start chewing the feathered appendage off, which is the official word for a turkey beard.
Yeah.
Feathered appendage.
You have
That's what I'm calling
Clarify.
it literally from this day forward. I will never call it a beard again.
10-inch feather
How big is your
appendage.
feathered appendage?
It's a feathered appendage. It's a personal question, but
Yeah.
Feathered is the key word there.
yeah, feathered.
Yeah.
And so the mites can get in there and just kind of eat back the beard. So it had maybe a 3-inch beard, but it was wide at the top. Also, what can
Definitely
happen
a grower.
is a grower. It's a grower.
For sure. Shower.
Yeah, grower, not a shower. And then another thing, it can just break off in the wintertime up here in the cold. You know, if you get ice and it just snaps off. We've had that happen before, and I've seen it middle of the winter. You've got a gobbler, and then the next day it comes in, it's like broke off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had beard rot and spur rot because the spurs were
One was, I mean, it was
yeah.
smooth.
yeah.
Spur rot?
It was nothing.
There's no such thing as spur rot.
I know.
Yeah.
What is that?
but It's slick.
It's scabosis.
That's scabosis.
Scabosis.
unreal. So he had one spur?
Yeah. No.
It was like a,
It was a. He needed to be thinned out. Let's just say that.
He had to go.
It was
had
a
to go.
spurless Tom with
Yep.
beard rot.
Yep.
And that's what that fit. It's fitting.
yeah.
Fitting.
Yeah.
It's fitting.
Hanging out with a bearded hen.
Yeah, but Malecki's had a pretty much of a cold spell here in the last
Oh, yeah.
5
Yeah,
years.
that's a good bird.
So he's
there
happy
for
to
him.
get a bird under his belt. So
to knock
yeah, it's
one
good.
down.
Yep.
Well, I went and checked a spot yesterday. I haven't actually been yet. We're only open, a week now, basically. I went and checked Whiskers yesterday because Whiskers is like, this will be good.
Yeah.
I pull up and there was a hen out there. She went by like a fucking tumbleweed, but
Yeah.
she was out there in the field. I mean, yesterday was absolutely
unreal.
unreal.
Ridiculous.
But everywhere I got to where there was pines, and that's partly why I went over there because there's a good stand of pines right there. All the fields that I checked, all the birds were tucked up. You could see them in the pines. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
There was 40-mile-an-hour winds yesterday.
It was nuts. She could not get to the pines fast enough. Like she was literally blowing sideways across the field
Yeah.
trying to get over there. It was wild.
That's
So
crazy.
birds there though.
Yeah, there's birds there.
Yeah,
So
good.
That's hopefully the plan for us is maybe Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday or something.
Then we got a
like that.
busy week too. We
Yeah,
got
we
Winchester
do.
coming in camp, and
Yep.
that'll be fun.
That's going to be a good week. I locked up some more permissions with the old man up there in Bay City on Sunday.
That's
Helped a man plant some onions.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
He was so the old man on that farm. He's an older fella.
Oh yeah. Do you have his oxygen in?
Yeah, he definitely had his oxygen in. And when I drove past the house, I looked and he kind of had a tractor parked there, and he was just in the door. And at first, I'm not gonna lie. First, I was like, I might check his pulse. Like I was like, I don't know if the old man's actually like. So I was like, I gotta stop. So I stopped and come around and can see where he'd been working the dirt, probably in a 6-foot section. And he's got that giant field, right? But he puts a little garden in there. So I go, hey bud. I go, how you doing, man? And he turned around and he said, he looked at me and goes, how the fuck you think I'm doing? He's got oxygen in his nose, and he's just like, I go, well, I said, do you need any help? He goes, yeah, a lot. And he's just laughing, and I mean, he was just in good spirits.
Yeah.
Oh, he's always happy.
He was just funny, and I said, hey, you see the birds back here? And he said, 10 days they've been gone. He said, but they'll be back. And so I said, what do you need help with? He goes, I'm planting onions. And I was like, well, are you tilling this field? He goes, well, you can rototill next to an onion and it'll still take. And I'm like, interesting fact. I did not know. So I helped him hand plant like 9 or 10 onions. He'd hand them to me and I'd just dig in the ground and put them in. And he was like, as long as you come back and tell me you shot a bird, have at it.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, man. Sounds good.
You got
what you want.
the opposite side of the road.
Yeah, which is the key. 'Cause that's the sweet spot on
It's been
that
a
side.
3-year quest.
It's the farm where Mike and I killed last year with the 28
yeah.
gauge.
It's
But it's the there's
other
3 chunks there now, so it's a good farm.
Okay, I know what one you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, up there on Bay Mid
It's the
County.
horse?
dynamite.
It's
No,
not by the horse farm. Okay.
no, it's up on Bay Midland County or whatever. So yeah, great farm, good birds. They cross the road there all the time. They're all over that place. So, but they weren't there that day. So
No, that corridor's been a little empty. I'm confused this year. There's a lot of my normal spots I go to. I'm like,
do you think the
hell did
cold
they
weather's got them like for real? I mean, we've had some shitty weather.
I think it's. I mean, it was 20. What was it? 26 degrees this morning.
was cold.
It was
30,
it was like
30 this morning.
but
We were walking.
still.
You even said it. You're like, it's a hard frost.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a hard frost this morning.
Yeah, it's almost May 1st.
Yeah. It's
I think they're
ridiculous.
behind schedule a little bit.
Florida guy appreciated
But-
that.
Yeah.
I'm like, coming up, I packed the lightest camouflage I have. I'm like, oh, that's easy.
He's in the driveway and in his camo, the lightest stuff, and he's like, you might want to need another layer.
Yeah.
You grabbed a puffy, didn't you?
Yeah, Jason had a puffy I could borrow and then a hat. Like
Yeah.
a
And then he was dialed, but layered up.
Turkey hunting in the cold is not. That's not my style.
Not ideal.
Nope, not my style. I sit in the cold for deer, not for turkey.
yeah. No, I was expecting it to be hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Nope, it wasn't.
Well, and I don't know what about you guys, but honestly, like we have not had huge success on roost hunts. Like
It's tough.
It's tough on a roost, but well, I think like, I was just talking to Gilbertson today,
Yep.
who from Winchester's coming in next week, and we were talking about that Sunday he's coming in, and I was like, "You're better off. Like we're better off skipping the roost hunt, honestly."
Yep.
And doing a hot lap at 10 o'clock like you guys did here.
Yep.
Like do the hot
Yeah.
lap at 10 o'clock and get eyes on a bird and
Yeah.
be able to make a move and do the things that you do. I mean, I think that's where we've had a majority of our success.
I'm not
And right now, I think that's going to be the ticket.
I'm not a roost hunt. I mean, the dynamics of a roost hunt are cool. They're up in
yeah.
the trees. They're screaming their faces off.
No
like,
question.
When it's like that, it's awesome and it's fun. But I actually prefer let the hens go sit
Yeah.
on nest and then go find one.
The thing I like about a roost hunt is that the information it gives you
Yeah.
is important just to kind of understand, okay, if they start here, they go there, how many birds are around. You know, that's the biggest thing. It's just getting that intel. But the success rate of our roost hunts over the years has probably been 5%, 10%. And it's not for the lack of being in the right spot. They just have a system in the morning. You know, a lot of times the other morning we went with
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah.
That bird pitched down, those birds pitched down, and they strutted and spun and strutted and spun, waiting
Yeah.
for 2 hens to fly out of the tree. Those 2 hens flew out of the tree, those hens
And
the
they were
other
gone.
way, and they're out.
Yeah, they were gone.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, unless you're right in on them, the
Yeah.
chances are pretty slim.
Yeah.
For us, anyway, the success has been pretty low.
But how many times do you try to get right in on them and you get in there and you hear, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
You look up and, I mean, because, they'll fly through
Yeah.
the night. They'll pop trees and move around a little bit. Try to push the envelope and you get busted.
Happens a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Especially in the timber, that's the toughest part. Like if you're on a field and you know they're coming and flying, pitching down in a field, that's one thing. But
One of my favorite roost hunt stories ever was over in Clare, and you actually shot the bird.
Yeah.
But going back to tailless bird,
Yeah.
we went over there that week. It was Bag of Puppies Day.
oh yeah, that's when I was into puppies.
You were like a bag of puppies.
Yeah, I was underneath
the thing,
the
trying to get the camera
burlap.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
Burlap.
running camera.
Burlap. I was running
He was
camera.
under the burlap.
You see,
Well, I went out and set Petie in the ground, and I didn't have anything holding the fan other than that little clasp.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and this bird's in the tree, and I mean, everything is right, just like it should be. Bird's getting ready to pitch down, you could tell, and a big gust of wind comes, and the fan just goes right out of the bird.
Right off the
So now there is just a black basketball sitting in the field, spinning around in a circle with no fan.
Yeah.
And this bird, for whatever reason, literally flew down. His toenails hit the sand, and Jay ripped his head off. I mean, it was like, boom, wham.
He took like a couple steps, like tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
It was. It
He
was
did
like
the T-Rex,
ah.
2 T-Rex runs.
Yeah.
I mean, that
gone.
bird wasn't out of the tree for 11 seconds.
That was my thought is he's going to sniff it.
Yeah.
He's going to be like,
Yeah.
something's going on here.
Something's fishy. Why doesn't that bird have a fan?
Yeah.
So
Full strut, non-fan gobbler.
that's a moment though, like a pure panic when you're sitting there. You're like, this is gonna happen. This is gonna be so great. The
Yeah.
fan goes. You're like, now what? Like, do I sit here? Because the bird's right there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens.
That's turkey hunting, man. It happens.
Yep. Wherever your adventure takes you, count on Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's to make it memorable. From the timberline to the campsites to the lake and the range, get your family outfitted with the right gear. With premium brands like Worldwide Sportsman, Ascend, Instinct, Redhead, and Natural Reflections, they've got the apparel and the gear to make it the best adventure ever. Stop by today for a one-of-a-kind shopping experience in-store or online at BassPro.com and Cabela's.com. See for yourself at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's stores. Your adventure starts here. All right, let's talk about beer for a second. You ever notice there's a big difference between Busch Light drinkers and other beer drinkers? I like to say we live on the wild side. You know, a guy with a Busch Light in his hand, he's a man of the people. He's out there in the wild every day. He's in the trenches smashing bushies with a smile on his face. You know why? Because he doesn't care. He's not looking for a soulmate. He just needs something to wash that damn jerky down. And he's got himself a 12-pack of Freedom in a can. And when that can gets cracked, it's like opening a door to a whole different world. It's just a vibe. And if you haven't felt it, you should. So go grab yourself a case of bushies, give them a rip, and take a walk on the wild side. You've got things that matter. Memories, heirlooms, documents, firearms. And we all know that life is unpredictable. At Winchester Safes, they make sure life's unpredictable moments don't take those things from you. They use state-of-the-art methods that refuse to sacrifice quality. They put everything they have into their products, offering proven protection and peace of mind. There's only one safe company worthy of the title, the American Legend, and that's Winchester Safes. Follow at Winchester Safes or learn more on winchestersafes.com. Let's talk about Mountain Ops, a brand that I rely on to fuel my fire in more ways than one. I could sit here and talk about how undeniably essential Ignite is to my daily life. I could explain the benefits of the super greens, and I could ponder out loud how they got those super greens and super reds for that matter to taste so damn good. Or I could just give you a quick look into who they are as a company, because to me that matters more than anything. So here it is. They recognize God and acknowledge His hand in all things. They believe in being worthy of others' trust. They're reliable and honest with their information. And lastly, they take full and personal responsibility for their actions and the outcomes. There you have it. If you want to learn more about Mountain Ops and stay connected, check them out on social media at Mountain Ops or head on over to their website, mountainops.com. And remember, if you want to save some cash, use code Keefer.
Yeah. So Schuster,
Fun shit.
tell everybody what you do.
I fly private jets. I do.
Yeah,
I got into that.
Not ours.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right? That's not the plan.
No,
that's what we always say.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I got into flying about, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. When we moved to Florida and decided I was going to take the leap and do something totally different and decided I was going to become a pilot. And not really knowing what I was going to do with it, and ended up getting in with the right people, and now I'm flying private jets, and
That's fun.
it's a pretty cool office, I got to say.
Yeah.
it's not bad.
You're down in Jacksonville,
Yeah.
but your company's out of North Carolina.
Yeah,
headquartered?
company's out in North Carolina. Just, they've got 6 different types of jets. We fly about 85 jets. The private jet industry, private aviation industry is booming. It has really taken off. And so it's a great industry to be in, super busy. The people I work with and the people that we fly for, tremendous people. Mm-hmm. So it's a really cool opportunity for me to be able to.
The question is, do you fly with golf clubs? Because when you fly people, and I've talked to other guys that fly jets about this, and like the downtime between like when they go, and so what do you do?
I used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
A previous company I worked for was you'd fly somebody and you'd stay.
Yep.
And I did bring the golf clubs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was fun because you go. I mean, these people are going to nice places.
Yeah.
You know,
so
so
you're
not
finding
going,
good spots.
you're going someplace that you're like, oh, this is cool. I don't know if I'd ever go here ever on my own, but this is cool.
But I got a fly rod, or I got
Or
golf clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. And this company now is more volume. So I'll pick you up in Midland. I'll take you to Jackson, drop you off in Jackson, hop down to Denver, pick up somebody from Denver, take them to Dallas or something like that. I'm not sitting with you your whole trip to Wyoming. No.
Yeah, you're just rolling from city to city.
Yeah, it's in and out real quick. So.
Yeah, I've seen your screen with the miles and all the different, and I died. It's like, because you'll meet us in deer camp, and you're like, here's the last 2 weeks, and it's like the plane is all over the United States of America.
Yeah, we don't sit still when we get going.
Moving.
Yeah.
So
I always ask them, me with flying, like I want to know everything. So when there's turbulent days, I got this app, Turbulence app. So, it has all the low-level wind shears, turbulence above, 34,000 feet, and it has all the details. So we'll land, and it'll be a little rough. I'll text Schuster, say, was it rough up there today? I said, a lot of low-level wind shears. He's like, yeah, actually there was. And I tell him where it was. The one time, so I always ask him, what's the craziest thing that happened when you're flying?
Yeah.
Because I like to know just what you do, how you respond. So I'll ask you, what is the craziest thing that's ever happened to you while you were flying?
Man, that's a good question. I've got more stories than I would like to have about how close I came to dying. But it obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, you're still here. You're sitting next to me.
Yeah, there's times that you learn from it though. Like I had just one that happened early on. I was a flight instructor, and you go and get all your ratings, your private pilot instrument rating, your commercial rating, and then most people get their CFI rating to build hours, because hours are so important in this industry. And so I get my CFI, and the flight school I'm working for has Cessna 150s, which are little 100 horsepower flying go-karts, and Cessna 172s and some Piper Warriors and whatnot. I didn't fly the 150s. I'm like, those things are pieces of junk. I'm not going to fly those. Well, one weekend, another flight instructor asked me to work with somebody who just needed to work on landings. They just couldn't get over the hump on their landings. They're like, hey, would you mind flying with Alex, do some landings? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And we go out, and Alex pre-flights all this stuff, and we go out and take off. And I didn't even realize it at the time, but the plane was full of fuel, and 2 grown adults in this plane full of fuel is a little bit heavy. Mm-hmm. So we go off and we do the first lap in the pattern. We come in and land, and it's rough. I mean, this guy needs to work on his landings, but the first one, you're not going to judge him. That's fine. Come back in the second one, and we go in and we land, and he bounces it. And when the plane bounces, it bounces about 10, 15 feet back up into the air, and somehow or another, it kicked about 35 degrees sideways. And it's going down the runway, going side, like going to land, crabbing.
Yeah.
And I recognize that if we land that way, we're going to collapse the gear. Gear's not meant to go sideways. And so I jump on the controls, and everything you're taught is when you bounce something like that, go away. Go fly around and just go around and come back in and land it good the next time. So that was my mindset. I go full power, get the nose pointed down the runway. We're going to climb out and try again. And the plane wouldn't fly. It lost so much speed when it landed, when it bounced, that we were able to fly in ground effect, but we couldn't get out of ground effect. Mm-hmm. Every time I tried to pitch up, I got the stall warning horn, bring the nose back down, and the horn went away. So we were able to fly down the runway about 4 feet off the runway as I'm trying to build speed enough to get up out of ground effect. And the runway's coming closer and closer and closer. And I'm watching the airspeed indicator on his side, and it's like 39, 42, 45, and there's a berm at the end of the runway and then a road after that. And I'm like, little 8-foot pine trees on top of the berm, and I'm like, oh, they're getting real close. And it wasn't, we probably got over them by 6 or 7 feet. Mm-hmm. We cleared those trees by. And I said, Alex, I think we're done for the day. And he's like, yes, sir. Yes, I think so.
Do you want to land it?
Actually, I did.
Yeah.
But that was one that's just like, you know, you can Monday morning quarterback and you think about what could we have done different, and probably would have been super easy to land that plane again. We had 4,000 feet of runway left. We could have landed it 6
Just
times.
drop it down. Yeah.
Once you had it under control, we could have just landed it. But
Casey,
that wasn't the plan.
Case, when you bounced, would you think that the man would have liked to power up a little bit, or just crash right
at the time? I mean, we've flown in enough Bush planes that I wasn't training to be a pilot at all, but even I knew full power, go around, like, we're back in the air, let's get going again, you know what I mean? And now there was none of that. There was just
so back up,
F-bomb, end of the Bush strip, and
talk about
plow.
Why were you going there? Why weren't we there? The whole story.
So
we'll get back into another one.
What was it, 2021 or something like that? We were looking at buying a cabin way the hell up in the middle of nowhere in Alaska. We'd actually been on the river that this cabin was on. A really long story short, a guy, it's at the confluence of 2 rivers that come together and form a third. We floated one of those 2. Since we had floated it, a guy had bought the property off of a native woman that was up there, got an allotment, bought the property, went in, and over the course of 5 years put a strip in the bush so that you could land a plane, because he was a pilot, and built a cabin with the trees that he took down. And so the
gorgeous place.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Dude, this place
we were so into it.
It's unreal.
Unbelievable. And so the idea was for us, and dropped, is we've got those 2 rivers that come together to form one, and then just down from the confluence about a mile, there was another, what would be a 4th river that came in. So for dropped, we could have a different river every year. If we had this cabin, and it was like hundreds of miles into the middle of nowhere, as our home base, then we could use that as home base, get flown, dropped off, and float down, 60, 70 miles to the cabin every year, pick a different river. I mean, the ideal setup.
Logistically, that'd be so much easier.
It was unbelievable, awesome. All except the plane crash part when I went there.
It was like, no, it's not a good idea.
So I can't remember. We didn't go. You were.
No, he went up by himself.
You went up by yourself.
It was during the throes of COVID, and so traveling to begin with was an absolute nightmare.
And it was July.
Yeah,
you were up there in July, and we couldn't do it for whatever reason. You and I couldn't go, and he was going to take a look at it. And I think
I was
also
going to do final inspection.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it was final inspection, and also logistically, I think one person going like the way the plane was like, we couldn't get all 3 of us.
It's tough to get into that spot.
Oh,
like
100%.
That's why it was up for sale for a while, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons.
Turns out that's why.
There's so many things that stacked up to this, and ultimately that's what led to not getting the place. But the pilot that owned the cabin, the guy that built the place, he was having his plane flown up to him, and they ground looped it in BC somewhere. The pilot that was moving the plane ground looped it. So I couldn't fly in with him, so I had to find someone else to fly with. So I found this guy, and over the years flying up there, we got to meet a lot of pilots. You know a lot of pilots. I didn't happen to know this guy. He's one of the he's like the only guy flying out of this one little village nowadays. And so I got up there, I got with him, we were getting ready to fly out, and he's like, hey, we got to make a stop on the way in. I'm like, all right, cool. And that's not unusual when you're up there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, we got to stop and help a guy out and move some stuff to a cabin. His cabin got ripped up by bears, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, cool. So we stop. We do this. We start helping this guy load the plane up. And now you have to imagine, we're in a 206. We're in a Cessna 206. It was me and the pilot and 82 pounds of gear. That's what I had with me when I got into this plane. Plenty of room for weight. So we stop to help this guy, and he loads this plane. I mean, we're not only are we bulked out, but we're overweight. And I'm sitting there, and I remember I took a picture of myself sitting in the front seat. I'm like, this is not right. Like this, and I actually called it out. When I look back, the guy was like laying in the back. I'm like, this is not cool. Like this ain't happening. I said, we got to get some shit out of this plane. So. And long story short, the guy takes a bunch of stuff out of the plane. Everything's right as rain. We're good. So we get in, we take off, we fly, go to the guy's cabin, we land, unload a bunch of shit, get back in. Now we're flying to look at the cabin that we were going to get. And so as we're flying there, the pilot's like, man, he's like, I can never find the strip coming from this direction. And I'm like, that's not normal.
Reassuring.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. He's like, help me look for it. I'm like, all right, this is great. So we're coming around. He looks down. And he's like, there it is. And you could see the cut in the trees, plain as day. So he's like, there it is. Now it's starting to rain a little bit. Rain's starting to come down. And he turns the plane and starts to come in on what ended up being final, which I did not think was going to be final. We're coming in, and I mean, I'm looking down, and you guys know how it is. When you're coming in, a lot of times you're floating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We are still screaming. Like, we're coming in
hot. Way over speed.
And I'm looking down, and the tires are damn near clipping treetops, and we're still doing like 110. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? I'm thinking, there's no way. I'm like, he's going to buzz the strip and like check it and maybe, take a look, make sure everything's good.
Yep.
And then we'll go around and come back down. Nope. As we got closer, we started to get out. We'd cleared those last trees, and he frickin' put the nose down to the ground. And I'm like, at that moment, I literally said to myself, I'm dead. Yeah, this is it. It's over. Like, I'm done. And so we start going down, and he starts to pull up. So you need 800 feet basically in a 206, especially if you're empty.
Yeah.
That strip was 1,052 or 1,054 in the bush, dirt. And we missed the first 300. We were still in the air.
Mm-hmm. There's a formula for every knot you are above speed.
Yeah.
Is how far you're going to float. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is, and it adds up real quick.
Oh yeah, we were going so fast, and so we hit, and boom, and that plane went right back up. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, bam, the hit. We went back up, and I'm like, holy shit, we're back up. And then he panicked. The pilot panicked, and he just started screaming, fuck, 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 fuck. And boom, we hit a second time and went back up. Mm-hmm. And he kept screaming, and the third time we were out of room, and we hit and just right up on the nose. Prop was still full bore, bam, into the ground, and the plane was sitting like this at a 45. We were off the end of the strip in the brush and trees and all that shit. And I had that like momentary,
check all your vitals.
oh my God, like I'm alive, So it was, the bounce was, when I stepped it off, after everything calmed down, like I threw my shit out of the plane. We realized, okay, we're all good. There's no injuries. We're fine. The plane was an absolute abomination.
He was freaking out.
He was losing his mind. He was running down the runway, like with his arms out, acting like a plane. It was weird. Super weird. But I stepped it off, and we missed that first 300.
Yeah.
We need 800 bare minimum, empty. Yeah. We missed 300 in the air. Then we missed another, when we hit, the second time, we probably missed another 100, 150 in the air the second time. So, you take 1,000, you need 800 to land, you drop 450 to 500 off of that still in the air. Like, that's how we ended up crumpled at the end.
Yeah.
So I got a call that night. So my phone rang. It was 2 o'clock in the morning at home. And I remember the phone ringing, and I'm like, okay, he knows it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's not going to call me. Mm-hmm. And I know the sat phone number. And it came through sat phone, and all I did was answer. I said, tell me you're alive. Like, tell me it's you on the other end of this. Tell me you're alive. Because I knew he was going in that day. And he was like, barely, but I'm here. And then he told me the story about it. And then you ended up, that guy had Wi-Fi, and he sent me the greatest selfie of all time, but also the most disturbing selfie. We have to put it up. It is him with the plane, like, up on its head, and I'm like,
tail sticking up, like,
jealous of your
seen that
selfie.
picture. Yeah,
I'm like, he had this. He was like, and the plane is like completely up like this, and I'm like, thank God you're alive. But God, what a picture! Like, what a picture of that. But then it was like, I'm so happy you're alive. So that was intense, man.
It was a whole ordeal too, because you imagine being way the hell out there in the middle of getting out's not easy. Getting in's hard enough, and the plane we got in on's laying over there, a crumpled piece of shit.
Yeah.
So now it becomes, okay, now we got to figure out how we're going to get out of here. Yeah. And so. But what I love about the pilot community, especially in Alaska, is everybody ponies up. Everybody's like, there's dudes that need help, let's go. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, one sat phone call to one pilot led to that guy calls this guy and that guy, and it just starts going around. And for 2 days, I could hear planes, like they would try to come get us, but there were some sketchy parts coming through the mountains where when fog and shit rolls in. So they got to fly VFR, and so. They hit a certain point, and it's like, well, got to turn around. So they got to turn around and go back. And then finally one day, this guy showed up, and you hear the Cub coming, and he comes in, he touches down. This guy's awesome. He lands, and he pulls up, and he opens the window and the door, and he just looks out, and he goes, whose piece of shit's that? He points to the plane down at the other end, and I literally was like, that guy's definitely not mine.
Not yours.
So, and he's like, where are you going? And I said, well, wherever the hell you're taking me. Who are you and where are you from? And he's like, my name's Bob. And he went through the whole thing. He's like, got a little bed and breakfast that I run, and he's like, you're more than welcome to come stay with us. And he's like, my wife just made enchiladas. I think it was enchiladas. He's like, she's getting our cabin ready because the reds are running, salmon are coming through really good. So she's not there, but yeah, she made some enchiladas. You can stay the night with me and we'll figure it out. I mean, it ended up being like a super cool experience minus the whole crash the plane.
Crash on the plane.
Yeah. So that was, that actually is what led me to starting to learn to fly. Yeah. Between that and obviously like access to wild places is getting really hard and really expensive. And so I'm looking at it in the future. I'm like, man, if I want to get back in here with me and my kids and everything else, like A, it's going to be really pricey, or B, it's just not going to be doable.
Yeah.
And so I started this quest inspired by old Captain El Jefe over here.
Man, when I decided I wanted to learn how to fly, I had this vision in my mind of the bush pilots in Alaska and how they take you and drop you off at camp, and you're right there. And I was like, well, this is okay. Just moved to Florida. I'm like, why don't we have like Bahamian bush pilots where you're booking these trips? So we did this at Little Forks. We send people down to fly fish the Bahamas. And they got 37 fly fishing resorts in the Bahamas or whatever it is. And I'm like, how cool would that be if they just catch a flight to Miami or Orlando or wherever it is in Florida, and I pick them up in a float plane and drop them off on the beach at their resort kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn how to fly. I'm going to do this. I got my commercial seaplane rating and everything. And then I learned the logistics and the laws of how, nope, you got to clear customs. Well, that takes away from it. Is now I got to get up.
Indiana Jones never had to do that shit.
No.
He just flew wherever he wanted.
Right?
Yeah, just fly wherever you
What
want.
a crock of shit.
I will say this though, and you spent way more time flying than I have.
How many hours, by the way?
I'm north of 5,000. I think 54,
That's a lot.
5,500.
Lord, that's so many. It gives you a newfound freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just something about when you do it. Like even when you land, it's like, I don't know, you just you're like, holy shit, that was cool. And I think the one day you were saying, I think after my first flight, you text me and you're like, think about this. You've done something that like less than.
You took and what kind of plane did you do?
172.
172. So you took like a 1,800 pound piece of metal and flew that off of the Earth's surface and brought it back down safely.
Yeah.
Nobody, like less than 1% of the people can say they've ever done that.
Yeah.
Way less than one.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about that way.
Yeah, I think that was the text when I'm like, well, I got my first flight, and he's like, think about it like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's actually, it's pretty cool when you think about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as many scary moments as we've all had, sirens going off, cubs going down, all the fun stuff. How about some of the coolest shit you've seen while you're out there?
Man,
that's the key.
One of the coolest things I've seen, I was going from Florida to St. Lucia, which
great spot.
Beautiful out there. And that's actually a cool runway because you come in over the water, and then the runways, it seems like it's 10 feet onto the land.
Yeah.
But we're going over there and we're going down the Bahamas chain, and I don't know, this might have been 2000 and let's say 18, maybe 17. And we're at 45,000 feet. We're flying a CJ4. We're at 45,000 feet. And there are very, very few civilian planes that go above 45,000 feet. There's a couple, but you don't see them often. Mostly, not even too many people get up to 45,000 feet. And our radar picks up something that is like 17,000 feet above us.
Above you?
Above us. And we're like, well, that's got to be military. Yeah. Right? That's the only thing that would be up there.
Or
like a blackbird or something,
Musk.
you know? And so we're slow, and I key up Miami Center. I'm like, hey, you got a minute? Yeah, what's going on? I'm like, if you look to our 12 o'clock and about 22 miles out, there's something way up there.
Yeah.
What is it? And he comes back, he goes, it's a Google balloon. And I said, what the hell is a Google balloon? And what it is, so when I got home, I looked it up.
You Googled a Google balloon?
Googled a Google balloon.
Puerto Rico had a hurricane that kind of camped out over it and lost like all electricity and stuff like that. And Google sent up these giant balloons so they could bounce internet off of the balloons down to Puerto Rico. And they had like 3 of them out there or something like that.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, to see, you never see something 62,000 feet or something like that. And then to find out that it was a balloon, and how, I'm like, that's so ingenious that they can find a way to bounce ground-based internet up off of a balloon.
12 miles, about 12 miles up.
Yeah, that's quick. Quick, man.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. That was one of the coolest things I've seen.
Mine actually happened right after, one of them happened right after that whole crash incident when the guy came to get me. I've never in my life been afraid of flying. Never had a fear of planes. Like, I love it. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is. I just love it. But I looked at that plane for a second and was like, well, if you're only as good as your last fight, that fight didn't end well for me because it's over there crumpled in the bushes. I'm like, fuck it, get back on the pony, right? So I jump back in the plane and we start flying. And as luck would have it, we kind of came around. We're flying through this river valley and we get out over the actual tundra. And there's this frickin' pack of wolves. And we're at like 900 feet. And
they're just below. And
the wolves are down there just running through the tundra doing their, and you're just like, yep, this is cool. Like, you know, how many other people have ever had this experience? Like,
that is insane.
It's pretty rad.
You say you never had a real fear of flying or anything like that, and I never have either. And I'm not a fan of heights, but they don't really bother me much. There was one airplane we had at the flight school that it was a bubble canopy one. And that one, a couple times I look out, I'm like, oh, we're pretty high up here. But that was also the only plane that I ever got to fly backwards because the winds were so strong that we took it up and the winds were enough that pushed us backwards. So our ground speed was minus
ground speed
-2.
was negative.
-2. Yeah.
See, that's happened one time, and it happened to you and I.
Seagull.
We were actually in Alaska. A lot of this shit happens to us when we're in Alaska. It's
So much stuff.
We were up there filming an episode of Code of the Wild, looking into the Boggs Begich disappearance, the whole congressman that disappeared in Alaska. And we went through Whittier, remember that? We went through the pass.
On the day that he disappeared.
Yeah, on the exact day that they disappeared.
In the pass.
And
we thought it'd be a good idea to do the same thing.
Why not?
what happens when you hit that pass up there is it takes the air and it actually brings the air kind of in together and creates, I mean, it's
crazy.
It's unreal.
Tell me what.
I'm thinking of, I'm struggling
It's
right
Bernoulli's
now. Bernoulli,
principle.
yeah. But we're sitting there, and I looked down at the airspeed. It's the first time that ever happened. I looked at the ground speed, and I'm like, negative ground speed. How are we still up here? You know what I mean? What the hell is happening? You know? It was kind of a weird feeling, though.
And there was lightning too, like it was shooting down. And then the pilot, like, so we had like producers and stuff were in there, and the camera guys, and the one producer's like, all right, we're good. Like, we don't need to actually die looking for this plane. Meanwhile, Casey and I are like, I think you can make it, man. If you just go a little higher, you can push through it. And then the guy was like, nope. And then we're like, all right, turn around. So, and then we zip back around right outside of Anchorage.
Well, and you get in that pass too, and like as the landscape comes in and then you got a low deck, like you get in there and it's just the ability to turn around. You can only go so far, and then it's like, well, there's no turning around after this point. So it's like, we're not going to do that. So, wild.
Crazy stuff.
Jay was checking the weather for dropped just the other day.
He literally.
We leave in September, and he sent something the other day.
He sent a message to us. He said it's going to be raining on Wednesday. We probably shouldn't turkey hunt. In case he texted me back and goes, "Were you on checking the weather for dropped in September and found that it was going to be raining?" That's how far out he
the Farmer's Almanac out, charting our course.
Oh, too funny.
No, I back on the plane crashes. I was in one. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. You were. We were shooting.
I was down.
Was it
it was an ultralight.
It was a death trap. It had wings.
Was it a pedal bike with wings?
It was a death trap.
Yeah.
So we're down. We used to produce a show called Family Traditions with Haley and Gio. And it was like a month after Weston was born, like literally a month. Maybe 3-4 days. I was pushing it. But we had to shoot this intro. And so Rich Schultz and I went down there. And I went up the plane. This is before drone. I mean, this was 2009, maybe 2010. So the idea was at a Sony EX1, the one we still have.
Great camera, by the way.
Incredible.
One of the greatest.
Workhorse.
Yeah.
It was one of the best cameras we've ever owned. Yep. So the first day we go up, and he just said, let's go up for a ride. I can't remember his name. Randy? I think he's dead now.
This is just like a buddy of theirs with a
buddy.
Well, yeah.
Probably dead.
Yeah, Hoppin' Randy's
First problem.
Yeah, Hoppin'
That- you
Buddy
can
has
see-
got
yeah,
this machine.
You can see how I'm following along.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Hoppin' Randy's rig. So we get in there one morning, beautiful morning, dead still. We go up and smooth. It's like, it's cool. And he says, let's drop down and see, because we're going to chart a path the next day. He's like, let me go down in this clearing. And it's like a power line clearing. There's pines everywhere. It's Georgia. So he gets down, and I don't know, you pilots might be able to tell me, but we got down, it got super cold. There's a thermal. And it's a light-ass plane. And I don't know if we lost lift, but he lost control. Like, he couldn't maneuver it. And we started drifting. We were going, I don't know how fast those go, 80? You know? I mean, they're moving.
Sure.
Fast enough to kill you. And we start drifting towards these pines. And I'm looking out the wings. And I'm like, I can touch the pine needles on this tree almost. And he's like, man, that's weird. I can't, man, it just won't. And he's talking like that. I'm like, no, you don't. I don't want to hear you say that.
Yeah.
And then finally, it just caught, and we went, whoa, when we shot up. And he's like, man, I never had that happen. I couldn't control it. He's like, I think it was a thermal, because everything was bright and sunny, and it was dark and cold down in that chute. It was weird. It was weird. And he lost lift. He lost control, and we're drifting like if that wing. I mean, we were 5 feet from that wing hitting and just helicoptering us to the ground. Jeez. So I get up in it the next day with the camera.
Which, if I know you had to be going through your checklist. You were not into it.
I said, unless it's perfect conditions, we ain't going up.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about this shot.
Yeah.
But I really wanted it.
Yeah.
So we get up there, and I didn't have anything. I was basically had the EX1, and I was holding it down between my legs, solid.
Yeah.
This is before warp stable. This is before anything. I was just getting what I got.
Yeah.
A nice wide shot, but I was. So we go around to take this big swing, and Haley and Geo, we're going to be walking this, like, is a cut in the timber, but it was a field. It was a cool shot. They're walking the field, and we're going to do kind of like a low buzz, and I was just going to kind of just do a flyover, like, and they were going to walk. It was the final shot of the intro.
Yeah.
You know, and it was going to drift up, and we were going to go to the title slate. So we get going, and we get down, and everything's looking good, and I have a radio, and I said, okay, Rich sends them, and he's got another angle of this, and we're going steep, like you said before, like it was, man, we're going steep. I'm like, we're going too steep, I think, for this. Like, we did a low, and old Randy wasn't on the controls real well again.
No.
And we kind of pitched up a little bit, but before he pitched up, he got so low, Geo pulled Haley down, like her head was going to get cut off by the wing. That's how close, like, so the wheels hit the ground, full speed. Boom, we hit the ground. He pulls up, tries to get lift again. We go up probably 40 or 50 feet up in the air, and we go straight back down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nose dive into the
nasty.
dirt. And the first thing, just like you, Casey, I'm checking my fingers, my toes, and then I said, fuck yeah, I'm still recording. And I looked real quick, and he's like, God damn it. He's like, man, I'm sorry about that. You okay? I'm like, I'm fine. You okay? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And you hear the rear prop is, the thing that it's just going, and I said, hey, we just survived a plane crash.
Yeah.
And at that point, there's almost a little bit of like, I escaped something here.
Yeah.
Like, I escaped it.
Yeah.
And then I just started thinking about, I have a 3-year-old or a 3-day-old baby at home.
Yeah.
And so I text Darcy. I said, hey, it was just in a plane crash, but I survived. And she called me. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how close you come.
You're a better man than I. I text Lisa and said, I made it. That's all I said.
Yeah.
I literally in-reach message. I'm like, made it. Love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at that point, for me, I was in the middle of nowhere. So I had way more questions than answers myself. And I knew even when I called you.
We were still trying to figure out how to get you out.
Yeah.
Because you were like, I need help. Because remember, it was like, who do I call?
Yeah,
who do you call? Because he had a sat phone only.
Well, you called me in the morning,
Yeah.
and he says, hey, just want to let you know, Casey's fine. But I'm like, okay.
Ruh-roh.
Now what?
Yeah.
He crashed.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And so you filled me in on it. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, my whole thing was I need to get answers to a lot of questions because that's all I figured I'd get in return is, well, now what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Yep.
But yeah, it was, didn't stop me though.
Yeah.
If anything, it actually lit the fire under my ass to go learn to fly more.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had it in the cards, but I think that was like the catalyst of like, all right, you better go figure this out.
So where are you at on that?
I'm still in progress.
In progress.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm still
we'll take
in progress.
that.
I wanted to have it done by June, but there's no way I'm going to have it done by June.
That's the private pilot takes forever.
Yep.
That's the hardest one to get done.
Yep. I've gone through ground, like, because I've been doing ground through online stuff. I've gone through ground now just on my own, like twice.
Yeah.
And just, it's getting up and flying. It's been the most difficult part with coaching and hockey and kids and all
And
the
weather
other stuff and weather.
Yeah, when you do get a time, you can go, it's crappy weather.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I've been kind of waiting on. So that'll kick in here pretty quick, I hope. And
Good for you.
Yep. And once I get that going, then maybe I'll fly us in on drop one day.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's the plan.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Well, we made it all the way through, all of us.
Yeah.
So far, so good. We get to live and tell more stories.
Piss break.
Piss break, apple, piss break. For some of us, the hunt never stops. Grizzly understands that more than most. Rugged, reliable, and built to never back down. Whether you're on the trail, by the water, or deep in the dark timber, Grizzly is by your side. Tough enough to take on the wild and ready for whatever you can throw. Grizzly is committed to products that never let you down. Always on the hunt with Grizzly.
Out here in the wild, precision isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. Leupold Optics is built on the foundation of American craftsmanship, where every features function first. For over a century now, they've combined dedication and technology with a relentless put-it-to-the-test attitude, creating optics that stand up when everything else stands down. When it matters most, you need the best. That's what you get with Leupold Optics. While other companies out there warranty failure, Leupold guarantees performance for life. Some call it out on the trail. I like to call it the road less traveled. The kind of place where the going gets tough. That's where Tracker Off-Road comes in. Made for those who won't back down. Tracker Off-Road delivers the hardest working machines with the greatest capability at the strongest value in the industry. Built by those who know what it takes and designed for those who don't turn back. Tracker is dedicated to delivering machines that let you get the most out of your day and your dollar. Ready to take on your next adventure? Go with Tracker Off-Road.
Every shot counts. And when it's time to make it count, you want the best. Winchester Ammunition has built its legacy on a commitment to innovation by continuously pushing what's possible. In the heartland of America, the American legend crafts ammunition that's purpose-built, reliable, accurate, and ready to perform no matter how harsh the conditions. Whether you're hunting or shooting for sport, Winchester will be there. Speaking of camp and Ohio Deer Camp, how was this last 2 seasons? We've had Jeff at the camp. Mm-hmm. What do you think about Ohio? What do you think about the deer camp?
Man, that is that's something special, And actually, I've been down there 3 seasons now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have actually.
And
yes.
So my growing up, and I'll try and keep this short, but my growing up, I didn't get to hunt with anybody. My family doesn't hunt, so I didn't have the deer camp experience and the camaraderie and all that stuff. And so there's something about going out and trying to shoot a deer, but doing it by yourself is one thing, and doing it with a bunch of people that you're so close with. And I mean, obviously we have such a damn good time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And that part of Ohio, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm from Michigan, hate Ohio. But
the Buckeyes.
But
hate, such a strong word.
Yeah.
But no, that's a real cool place.
Yeah.
Very cool
Special
place.
piece of ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is last year we started Deadwood. And
Yeah.
so every year we're growing more and more traditions. But Deadwood last year with the projector out there and the camp down there and the fire every night and everybody, like, that's to your point, like, that's why we do what we do. Big bucks are a huge bonus, no doubt, but God, do I love going down to camp, and half the work is, the prep.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part, right?
That's the fun part.
Jeff and I went down last week.
Yep.
Yeah, so him and I were down there last week, so we got a chance to go down, and we actually put supplemental feed out, which is super interesting in a place like that, because Ohio, they got a lot to eat. So
Yeah.
it's going to be really interesting, and we're working with an amazing company who we hope to talk about here soon. But we put mineral and trail cameras, and we're like, that's the first time we've had this stuff out this early, which is exciting, just to know that, like, every year we're getting more and more into that property.
It's fine tuning it, and they're at this point still tuning it.
Yeah,
But
It's never a complete process. It's always a work in progress.
if we had 40 more
Always.
Millennium tree stands, I'd be putting 40 more out. There's no question. One for every wind and every scenario.
Well, there's
but
times you walk up and we're like, oh, there's a trail camera. When did we put that out there?
it happened when we were down there.
I think this is from 4 years ago.
Here's how you know it's always a work in progress. There's been how many deer killed out of the Jagger tree?
Yeah.
There's still times where I sit in Jagger, or somebody does, and you look at the other tree and you're like, maybe we should put it in that tree. Like, you killed 100 deer out of this one.
this tree.
But that deer walked by that one.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
know.
maybe it's that tree.
don't start that
Maybe we
game.
could-
Yeah,
we just went
dude.
there.
Yep, it
Yeah.
never ends. That's part of it, though, is that chase, or that constant, like, just never satisfied. Can we tweak it? Can we make it that much better? I mean, none of it's foolproof, none of it's bulletproof, but man, we have fun.
What happened when we went down there? We found a reveal.
Yep.
We were missing, and we came down like, oh, there's a reveal. There's the other one.
Where was it?
It was in the intersection.
Yeah, on the
Oh,
pick and stick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
hidden on the pick and stick, buried in one of the corners. It was like, oh, there's a reveal.
Yep.
So, of course, we pulled the card, and
No,
what's on the card?
Yeah.
And they were still running. But yeah, it's just that kind of stuff was fun to do this early in the game. And we got a chance to do a quick turkey hunt before we had to bail out of there, and which was also good. And we had a bird. He just got in behind us at 40 yards and saw our movement or something. He didn't like it, and he was gone pretty quick. But it was good hunt, and that was different turkey hunting in the mountainous terrain too. That was
Totally.
different. That was crazy. Like, I haven't hunted. I mean, we grew up in Pennsylvania, but it's been a while since I've turkey hunted from gully to gully.
Yeah.
Like, they're over there, and you got to go down, over, and up, or they just go puff, 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 and now they're like right on top. Like, they fly from one side to the other like that, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, bird's right there. Like, I mean, happening quick. That was fun though. It was cool.
We've hunted Daniel Boone National Forest a bunch, Tennessee a bunch, some timber, some mountainous areas in Georgia. It's different hunting them because
is.
you hear them. You hear a.
Yeah.
And you have to think, okay, is that up and is he down at the bottom
is
of
he
that
buried?
that holler over there, or do we let him come up to it's he might not be as far as you think.
Yeah.
It's just hard to determine sometimes where exactly they are, because down in those hollers, it'll sound like it's over here.
Yeah.
But it's over here.
Yeah.
And so, let's get him to gobble again. And then it's harder. It's much tougher.
And even setting the deeks on the side we were on the side of this mountain off the back of Triple Cherry, like where it drops off that big side right there. And it's like we had overwatch on these birds. I felt like we were in sniper position, because like you're just like above them, and you got turkeys working up at you. It's just a weird, different, it's like you got to be prepared for like every silhouette, shadow, which you're not really thinking about. Michigan, you watch your dog run away for 3 days, right?
Yep.
Like down there, I mean, it was like literally sniper position over deeks. Like, it was like, this is so different.
And
So
it is still thick undergrowth there too.
Oh yeah.
You bring up something. I was talking with Ryder about this the other day, because he's learning, and I'm trying to let him do he's going to do the calling on his own up until a certain point. I'll try to finish the bird if we have to, but like he'll do all of that. We were talking the other day about, and I asked him this question. I said, how far, when you hear a tom and he answers and he gobbles back at you, how far do you think you can hear that bird from? 100 yards, 200 yards? I mean, I know it depends on the terrain across the field, wind direction, all that stuff. But on average, and I tried to explain to him, like, if you hear the tom gobble back at you, get ready, because in my mind, he's 150 to 200 yards. Like, in our normal, where we hunt right here, right now, if you can hear that bird gobble, he's within 150 yards.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of my
I think it definitely with leaf cover and foliage makes a big difference.
Yep.
In the early season, if you hear them and it sounds close, Sometimes they might not be as close because there's nothing for that.
There's nothing to stop
Nothing
it.
to stop it,
Right.
you know. But in the middle of May, if you hear one and it feels like it's a little further away, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes there's a lot of leaf cover in between. So it's kind of one of those things. Over time, you just know that if there's no leaf cover and we hear him like that, he's close.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to explain to him, because he's like, well, if I call and the bird answers, like, do I go at him? And I'm like, ugh, that's a hard one, because it all comes down to what time of year is it. You know, but I just said, listen, if you can hear him, bet he's within 150 yards, tucked down tight, and just try calling him. See how it goes.
I mean, the first thing I like to do, if you hear him gobble once, try to get him gobble a second time.
Yep.
Or did it sound closer? Or did it sound farther away?
Mm-hmm.
Is it in the same spot?
Is he going on his own?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
that's what
and
I
when
like.
they're spinning, right? So when they hit the bottom of the tree and they're spinning, one time you're like, oh, he's coming. And then the next time he gobbles, you're like, oh, really? Because it's that he's facing the other direction. But what I love is that in the morning, that distinct I'm on the ground gobble. So you have the in the tree gobble, which is different.
Yeah.
Because you're listening, you're like, he's still
It's
in
clean.
the tree. It's
Yeah,
clean,
it's
and there's
clean.
no, to your point, there's nothing between. And then there's that one where he just changed a hair and it's muffled enough where you're like, okay, he's on the ground. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I get super excited. You know, when you're listening to him in the tree, I love it. But then, like, man, that first one, you're like, oh, he's on the ground. Then it's
Yeah.
like game on. But you can definitely tell the difference between tree and ground. That's
Yeah.
cool when you can decipher that. So
Yeah.
for Ryder, just knowing, like, hearing that and going like, oh, he's in the tree, oh, he's on the ground, just that alone. But I agree with you. It's probably 150 yards. It's
Yeah.
closing distance.
Oh,
So-
for sure. Yeah.
Close enough to get your ass busted real
And how
quick
many
and
times
easy.
we've entered a property, called, nothing, go up 100 yards, call, bam. It's like, for them too, it's you're encroaching,
Yeah.
right? Like when you start encroaching on their territory, then it's like, I'm over here. But
Yeah.
200 yards might be too far. you
The
know?
the worst thing that happens is when you have a vocal bird and you want to push it a little bit. You're like, okay, I think if we go up here and they're hammering, and so you get into position, you put the decoy out, and everyone sets up, camera goes up, and then you silent,
Yeah.
silent, silent.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch, he saw.
Oh, yeah.
He saw us. God damn it. We should have just sat down and called him in.
Yeah.
But you're always trying to get, I know it opens up there. It's always for the camera.
Oh, yeah.
If it was for
Always.
me as a hunter, I
Sit
can't
down in the
remember
closest
the
tree.
last time I hunted by myself turkey hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever have, to be honest with you. But you just sit by that tree
Yeah.
and you put the gun up and you call.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. Is like,
Yeah.
just sit down and call him, and he'll
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
But you guys always try to go up. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We
we're
got that
trying
stupid-
for
So it's all for the
Stupid
camera.
camera.
It's
Yeah.
all for the camera. So, well, we got a lot of turkey hunting left, though.
Oh,
yeah,
so much
I'm
left.
hoping to get out later on this week. Then I couldn't do this morning, sorry I couldn't be with you guys. But
Oh, yeah, I understand.
I'm trying later this week. We'll get out there and smash a few. We got Winchester coming in. We got a lot of birds.
That'll be
to hit the
fun.
ground yet.
The
Yeah.
birds are ripe right
Yep.
now. They're in a good spot.
Good.
We got a big hunt coming in on Sunday with a lot of cool people. So next week we'll be doing one probably live from
Yeah.
out at the ranch or
Yep.
something.
Yeah, I
we'll
think
be
so.
doing out there, which would be cool. And we got a barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Captain Jefe is going to do his world famous barbecue on Monday, so we'll have a big barbecue showdown.
Making pearls.
Oh, you know it.
Pearls.
Yeah,
You
so
know
we're
it.
gonna have some good barbecue and some good hunters in camp. So it should be a good week.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
Well, hey guys, thank you.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Hey, for everything.
First of
You
many.
know, I owe you guys a ton, but thanks for letting me come on and shoot the shit.
Hell yeah, man.
Anytime.
We're waiting for some more Jeff's fun stories.
Oh,
there's a
there's-
lot of them.
We left 15,000 stories out.
Oh my
that-
God.
Yes.
We need to get into the good ones.
Oh, yeah.
Next time.
What we'll do is we'll get Cornelius on here.
Yeah,
Cornelius,
we need to get Cornelius going.
Yeah.
And also, I do got to say this one quick story. When we went to the Yukon, this is 2012. Jeff's all about spirit and spirit lifters and these little things, and
Masks.
so he gives me 4 masks. Us 3 and Jameson were up there, and he's like, pull these masks out when you've had a tough day, when things get rough, etc. So I put them in my bag, deep in my pack.
These are luchador masks.
These
Yeah.
are Mexican wrestling masks,
Yeah, like Nacho Libre.
like Nacho Libre masks.
Nacho.
So I have them deep, and it was rough. This was when we were snowed in church camp after 3 days, and we were really questioning where do we go from here. I'm like, perfect time for the masks. So I pull the masks out, and I can't remember how I even gave them to you guys. I think I might have put them in your bag or something.
Yeah,
and
you
then,
did. You did.
Yeah,
You did.
And I said, "There's something in there," and you guys, "What the hell are these?"
Yep.
Yep.
And I told them where they're from, and it was a spirit lifter.
Brought the spirits right back.
Yeah.
It did.
That's it, man. That's
did.
what's
I remember,
smart.
I got pictures of it sitting on the side of the hill, glassing for moose in Mexican wrestling
Yeah.
masks in the middle of the Yukon.
Like 10 minutes before your coat caught on
Yeah,
fire.
before I caught my jacket. I didn't catch my jacket on fire. You idiots caught my jacket on. Hey, watch my back. Yeah,
I
no
definitely,
It was him.
I definitely let your back burn.
Story for another day too.
Yeah.
Story for another day. Lit Casey on fire.
Now that's one thing that I love about having Jefe around is it's always like there's something. It's always fun. It doesn't matter what's going down. It could be the shittiest hunt in the world, but it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah.
If you followed along on social media last year when we were in deer season, you saw a man in a monkey mask a couple of times sneak through our social media. I can promise you, we know who that gentleman is.
Yeah,
I won't say any names, but I know exactly who that is.
Yeah.
Every time Jason and I would come in to go to bed, and we'd look over, and he'd be laying in his sleeping bag with just this giant monkey mask on, and it was it just right before bed, we're just losing it, and it would just show up in the corner. So it's always fun. Always good to have you in camp.
That's a good
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times.
Well, we're out of Bush Light apple
For now.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go get one.
Let's grab another Bush Light apple, and thanks for listening to another episode of Wild and Moons.
Mama say it's a new day song.